o'clock on the dot. So I am your chair this evening. Unfortunately, Mike is sick, and so he said to tell everyone hello, but he is under the weather. So I'd like to welcome everybody, and we need to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and our moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd like to recognize a moment of silence. Thank you. Hello, Bookkeeping Plus. Can you hear us okay?
We sure can.
Oh.
How you doing?
Hi, Beth.
Good, how are you?
Hi, guys.
And Andrea. They're both
Yep,
there.
Andrew and Beth.
Okay.
Good to see you. All right, let's begin with tonight's agenda, and if I could have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Agenda passes, good. Do we have anybody who wishes to have public comments? Okay. All right, approval of the minutes. I'm gonna give you just a little bit of time since that's the one that just came out. So take a few minutes before we make a motion and review that and make sure that everything's good on the minutes.
Let's see, I forget, the ex officio board members, would that be everyone who has served on our board from the beginning?
No,
How
those
would we
are
define
our
it?
pending.
Oh,
Are
okay,
pending.
all right. I didn't take Latin in high school.
When you've reviewed them, I will open the floor for an approval and a second, or a motion and a second.
I will make a motion that we approve the board minutes as submitted to us.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, changes, comments? All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? Same sign. Okay, the minutes are approved. CEO report.
Do we want to make a motion first before discussion?
Yes.
Okay, well, after having reviewed it earlier, I will make a motion to accept our March CEO report.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Now, any discussion, Dave? Any discussion?
Well, let's see, Jill, please refresh my memory. I know that you've shared this with us before. We know that prior to the latest session of the General Assembly, it was 85% of the ADM amount for the virtual. Now, will that remain 85% through the end of the school year? And then next year, that will be restored 100% for all, or?
No, so right now, it's still 85%, and it's not the entire ADM. It's 85% of the foundation.
Oh, the foundation amount.
Right.
Right.
And so that equates to about $900. I think it's $899 and some change per student, at least based off of our funding. And so moving forward, right now, it's still going to be at that 85% for virtual students. However, the General Assembly, they are doing some summer studies to see about the cost of educating virtual students versus in person, and if there would be a case for there to be 100%. And I would say for a situation like ours, because we do use split position people for a lot of our programming, we also do have them come on site and use our maker spaces in some of our facilities, as well as being involved in co-curriculars and extracurriculars, having access to tutoring and other services, that you could make a case that we would be more than the 85%. But we'll see what the General Assembly decides to
So
do.
there's hope anyhow.
Oh, there's always hope.
Haven't completely shut the door on
Yeah.
perhaps
Nope.
restoring that.
They have not completely shut the door, but that, I mean, the 100%, that was a one-time COVID thing. They had done the 85% change probably about 5-6 years ago at least,
Okay.
so.
Any other discussion before I ask Jill a question? So Jill, could you maybe give us some verbal updates on the facility page that you referenced?
Sure. So looking on facility, if you get a chance after, you can go into the gym. All the big units are gone. They're empty. It's amazing. We are now going to have to paint and do some things like that because there's not paint covering all of the wall. So there's still some work to be done there. The large units have not been delivered because of a crane issue last week with the union. We are trying to figure it out. It possibly could be as soon as Friday night or Saturday this week that they will be moving them into place. Once they are set, then they'll be wired and they'll be ready to fire up. And so the gym is extremely close to completion. All of the reinforcements and all of those things have already been done. The network that all of the units, including the gym, but also the classrooms and everything, the AirFi network has already been created and established and is live. And so as new pieces go live, they'll transfer over to that network, and it's getting ready to be very fun and exciting to see some of those new improvements.
Is it on time? Okay.
Time's irrelevant.
All
thing.
right, all right.
Yeah, we do not anticipate it moving into next school year. There will be a lot done in June and July. So there is one tiny part that may push us into August, and it's just a tiny little piece, but it's the master controller for all of the thermostats. Because of the chip shortage, they can't get their hands on one. They started ordering that back in October. That was when they did it. During that time period, Trane has actually come out with a newer model of it. And so he said, which one do you want me to get? And my answer was, whichever one's fastest. So most likely we're getting the newer one. We know that will possibly come with glitch. New technology always has, but there are warranties and service plans and everything that any glitch that pops up, they'll take care of. So,
Well, I think it isn't safe to say that if everyone wasn't handicapped by the chronic shortage of everything, that the project would have been done most likely by before the end of the school year.
yeah,
So
and
everybody would be behind. Everybody's running behind, really.
we've run into, just like everybody else, a lot of supply chain shortages or worker shortages. They've done a phenomenal job on finding creative ways or working off hours to get things taken care of. But yeah, those computer chips kind of run the entire process right now. So
Great, thank you. Any other discussion?
Let's see, you also mentioned here that you will be posting very soon the position of academic programming and federal grants compliance.
Yes.
Now, have we had anyone in this position or something closely resembling it before?
Yes, so similarly, previously, it's my original role. When I moved out of the classroom, I moved into Director of Academics and Curriculum.
Okay.
And so as part of that role, I pretty much did a lot of what I currently do in my CEO role, with all of the grant oversight, all of the implementation of programming, all of submission for grants and those things. Those were always something I did, which was something that carried over, when we transitioned. One of the other people that has done it is actually Adam Fraley.
Yeah, that's.
So,
okay. Well, I knew we had a position of academic director.
Yes.
But I wasn't aware that basically what was involved was the grant oversight. Yeah.
that's a huge part of it, and this deserves some further discussion probably within committee
Mhm.
about it,
Okay.
because looking at the position, looking at all those things, the job description that I wrote in January, that was kind of a knee-jerk, like, oh, we're in this right now. And so it's taken some time to really evaluate where we actually need the direction, where we need the help to get us to where we need to be. And so that's why it's kind of added a little bit more of the academic piece, because looking at our grant programming, really making sure that we're providing adequate compliance and coaching and making sure it's being as effective as they can be, especially
Right.
with our title programs.
Mhm.
That's really what we need eyes on.
Okay.
So,
So it's more than just it's a stationary desk job.
yes, it is very
Okay.
much a don't be in your office job,
Okay.
once all the applications are through,
Right.
of course.
Will you be asking a member of the board to sit on the selection committee at some point? Okay. Okay. Any other discussion?
I was curious about on the mention about the high school subject to be determined position.
Mhm.
I just wondered how that worked. Is it, because I see that it's to offer electives and dual credits, is it just to bring somebody in with that role? I mean, or can you like shift around other subjects? I guess that was my
Yeah.
question. So you.
It is a don't know if we need it yet or not,
Right.
because we did have the position, but we did already rearrange to absorb it. Right now, we are looking at class sizes. We offer a lot of sections of some of our basic classes, because our foundational classes, in order to fill in the schedule and make it so everybody can get what they need. But some of those classes are 10 or less students. And so, not that that's a horrible thing, but there are probably some more strategic ways to maximize what we're doing. Also, given the talent of some of our current teachers and some of their other areas that they would like to pursue and classes they would like to offer, that would be really cool for our kids, especially now that we have the makerspace and the VEX robotics field and those things. And so, looking at that position, one, it's let's look in the kitchen, see what we can rearrange and shift there. Do we actually need that person or not? So that's kind of where it is. We flex well, but we're always looking, what can we add? And our kids, we have some kids now that are getting interested in having an esports team. Well, because of the computer upgrades that we have done recently, we actually now have machines that we can use for esports that are souped up, stationary desktop computers. And so that might be part of a computer science class we could offer during the day if we can free up some other things. So we're kind of just thinking big right now and spitballing and seeing, where we're gonna go on it.
Awesome.
Any other discussion?
With the elementary teacher positions that are open, is Mrs. Warnacker gonna go back to her previous position? Is that the
Yes.
plan?
Yeah, she will go back into her academic role and help Captain Fraley out significantly with that. And, this year was an emergency situation to put her back in the classroom just based off of that last minute and the makeup of the class. But we really need that academic coaching and support and those things, because obviously we know our kids' social and emotional needs have gone significantly higher, but their academic gaps are there too. And so using her there will be pretty much what we have to do to get us to that next level and get our kiddos where they need to be. So
The applicants that are coming in, we've only received one for the Air Force JROTC. Are those coming from the headquarters? They send them to you?
they send them. So the way that works, HQ, they screen applicants for us. And then they conduct interviews within our area with that person to see if they feel that they would align with us. For the candidate that we just had, they also had our current staff interview them as part of becoming certified for Air Force JROTC. So they've been vetted and then are presented to us for consideration. And so when they notify us, we have 72 hours to make first contact with that person and get an interview scheduled, and we have to have a decision made within 14 days of first interview. You can't really wait for another applicant to pop up and those things. So, we've gone through that. I'm not sure where HQ is on accepting as far as, we think this would be a good fit for us. We do think the candidate would be, checked a lot of boxes also from this area, from Muncie Southside area. That's where they grew up, so they are very well versed with kind of our area, the challenges that our kids face on a daily basis, and they had a very interesting career. So looking at that, but we wait for Maxwell. And we currently still do not have any SASE applicants that we are aware of. We can move forward for at least a year with just an ASI, but this ASI, this would be their first gig. So we've got a plan in place for that. Our other military science personnel would help mentor, and this person already said that they would be very much open to that coaching, to really engaging with our school community and being a part of everything we do, wanting to be at homecoming, wanting to do the crazy stuff we do and those things. So
Now, last year we had 3 junior ROTC people, I believe.
correct.
And right now, assuming that we engage with the person that you were referring to, we only have 1 of the 3 positions.
Right.
In which, of course, you described that we've got a contingency, which is good.
Yeah, and we do not require, our unit is not of size that requires having 3 instructors.
Mm-hmm.
So they let us keep our 3rd instructor as kind of a chance to rebuild our program, since we had gone from that volunteer to voluntold challenge that we faced. And so we do not have a unit large enough really to have 3. If we get to 151 cadets or more enrolled in Air Force JROTC, then that does open us back up to having a 3rd.
Pretty big jump, aren't we? Let's see, aren't we around 80, I think, something like that? I've
Something
heard
like
in
that.
prior meetings.
We're probably pushing 100 right now.
Okay, so it's up a little bit.
We did, Air Force JROTC offered a new opportunity to use some units this year as a pilot program, and so we actually have some 8th graders that are in Air Force JROTC instead of being in CAB.
Okay, that's the first time that we've tried that.
Yes, and
Yeah.
this is the first year that the Air Force has allowed it anywhere.
Oh, really?
So
Okay, so
we're part of that pilot.
a pilot program in a way.
And we were actually supposed to have our unit inspection yesterday. I think I included that in my report, but they have to reschedule it because of COVID travel restrictions. Apparently, Indiana's not on the fly list yet. So our numbers are good. I think we're okay. I don't know. So, and that does help us. I know some of the board knows, but our SASE is recovering from surgery right now.
Oh,
So,
okay, I wasn't aware of that.
yeah, so.
All right, anything else?
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Sure.
So.
They can't,
with
they
all
just
these
can't vote?
positions-
Yeah, you just can't vote, but you can talk.
With all these positions, I know there's a lot of shortages with faculty across the education field in general, especially within this county. I mean, we're a suburb of Indianapolis. So my question is the salary for these incoming faculty, is it competitive?
It is now.
Because I know for academia, higher ed, at least you have a base, I mean, there's a huge gap of what, you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, so we are competitive with the starting salaries. The legislator last year increased our funding. This was the first year that was impacted. And the expectation is that starting teachers, effective the 22-23 school year, start off at $40,000. And we actually moved to that a year early last year. And we redid our pay schedule and worked it up. And so, we aligned it, so we had teachers at one point, we had teachers with 20 years of experience making about 43, 44. And so now they're 55, getting ready to move towards 60. And so we are more competitive. Obviously, ACS, they are larger. They have better funding opportunities than us. They have done some adjustments to their pay schedule, but they do have some shortfalls and have had to do some early retirements and things. So I'm not sure kind of where we are on that, but most schools, at least in the donut area, are starting off at 40. So we are pretty competitive with that. We have had an influx in student teachers over the last 2 years. Ball State actually authorized, they previously did not allow student teachers to go to charter schools. And last year they opened the doors for that, and we've had several. I think we've hired 4 of them previously, and we've got a couple now that would be fantastic fits, and if we have openings, they'd really like to join us. So we don't actually anticipate a whole lot of openings based currently where staff is. We know, life situations change and those things, but we haven't had too much grumbling. And like I said, the one that we do know about, well, we have our 2 retirees, but we also have one that is going into another profession to pursue a new dream, and so we support that and everything.
Anything else before we vote? All right, I have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, they are approved. All right, financial report time. Beth, you and Dave and Jill?
That's my cue here, I guess. Okay. Wow, Beth and Andrea, there's a huge gap over here on the other side of the table. We're so used to seeing you over there. You're a lot smaller there on the screen, but we're glad you're with us this evening. Well, let me start off here, and then my intro may raise some questions here. Looking at our latest projected year-end, projected year-end total expenses has been increased since our last board meeting by around $47,000. And when you combine that with about $69,000 reduction in projected total income, we're looking at a reduced cash net income of $67,308. Now, that is higher, though, than the budgeted amount of $51,190. And this would reduce our ending cash balance slightly to $1,740,836. So that's sort of a very brief overview sketch there of what we think things will look like at the end of June. Looking then first at the income, our projected year-end total income, as I said, was reduced by about $69,080. And this is actually, though, $145,000 some dollars over our original budget. So we're doing very well with income this year. Total grants and donations are $160,000 over budget. And also the, let's see here, the E-rate, which is part of our other income items, That is doing quite well for us. So in terms of comparing where we began a year ago on our budget, income is doing quite well for us. I noticed that, getting down to the details, we have forecast a reduction of around $56,407 in our federal title grants, but that will be offset by around $41,000 additional monies coming in from our ESSER 2 and ESSER 3. So the two net out to a modest $15,000 reduction. I noticed that most affected were Title I, and then a little bit less for Title IV. Now, I don't know if there's any significance to the reduction there or not, but that would be the explanation from the why we did reduce the total income projections. Food service income, we know that that income has been reduced here for 2 months because of the 2 audits which we have. Is the second audit the procurement audit? Has that been completed yet or started? Or?
The procurement audit, I would say, is midway. We've done everything on our part and submitted it, and now they will go and audit our vendor.
Right, the food to schools.
Blue Falls.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, Food to Schools is our co-op.
Now, I don't know if there will be any further reductions in food service income projections or not. Hopefully that'll be back on track.
Yeah, not based on those.
That did throw us off around 34,000 or so. And let me check my notes here. We're still holding to the $228,273 E-rate payment in June, and we did receive a modest $16,227 E-rate payment in February, which I don't think we had expected at the last board meeting. So I'm assuming that everything's still on track there. Okay, then looking at our expenses, one of the when we have these variances in our projections, oftentimes it comes in that facilities expense category because there's quite a bit in there going on, all of our construction work. Actually, total facilities expense, again, we're looking at our end of the year projections, we're only increasing that by $222. We could probably raise that much by passing the hat here. So that's good. Building improvements were down slightly, about 10,000. Not sure why that account would actually be reduced, but anyhow, building repairs is down a little bit. And then grounds and security, Beth and Andrea, I noticed that that expense has been dropped $73,000 some dollars, and I think, Beth, that was due to the fact that you sort of reviewed all of the construction expenses and everything and sort of cleaned that up for us a little bit. Let's see. The one thing that really was interesting, and Beth, you and I shared comments on that, for some reason the electricity use is way up here, and I'm assuming that's because of all of the train project work going on, or maybe not.
No, allow me to explain this situation.
Okay. Sounds like a good one here. I better
Yeah,
step back.
yeah, it's fine. So, and I included part of an explanation in my CEO report last month. When the world shut down, the Anderson Utilities, the city utilities, the electric company, they were not allowed to go into any building that had an inside meter.
Okay.
And so instead of, just going inside, reading it and doing actuals, they did estimates. However, when they went to calculate the estimates, they used a new computer software, and it did not go back a year like it said it was going back a year, and to predict what your rates would be, for the following months. And so it based it off of the time that everybody was shut down and then just kind of carried it further.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up, and this lasted for about 18 months, where we were paying the bills that we were given, and really there was $69,000 worth of usage that they hadn't accounted for. This did not happen just to APA. This happened to families in the community. This happened to anybody that had an inside meter. And there was no resolution for it. There's no relief for it. What we have done as soon as we found out, because they started sending us, here's this sure up bill. We're like, whoa. How do we have, that much in 1 month? What's wrong? We had them come out and check our meter to make sure, someone wasn't, siphoning electricity or that something was wrong. And they finally figured out that that's what's happened. So we have now moved our meter outside. It affects our 22nd Street building. We've moved it outside, and they can remotely access it with their new systems and things. Basically, they said, we're sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. We used to do this by hand. We bought software to fix it, and good luck. So that's really basically what that is.
But you're correct, you had shared that with us at an earlier meeting, I recall.
Yeah.
I guess this was the first time we actually had captured that number in
Yeah.
our
So what's that do to the
projections.
budget, a line item for that?
Like our budget for next year, we went back, we looked at our cash flow from the 2018-19 school year. We looked at our current usage that we're seeing, and that we added some cushion there for inflation purposes and whatnot. So we feel, and I know Beth's gonna present our budget when we get there, we feel pretty strongly that we got the right number.
Okay.
If not a little more than what it actually will
The
be.
I mean, you
jump,
can't help it at all.
Right.
The jump from last board meeting was 78,609, to give you some idea of the magnitude of that.
Yeah, so that was a really interesting
And the
thing.
train project is not affecting that at all.
Nope, train is not, and at the end of the day, the train project will actually eventually lower some of our electricity.
Which is good.
So.
Okay. Let's see here. Let me wrap this part up quickly here. I did notice under the expenses, there was we had to increase professional services for special ed, $57,862. Again, not surprising because we know we have a high percentage of special needs students. Let's see, now going to the month of February, as is often the case, when we revise our year-end projections, a lot of that tracks back to the current month that we're in, which was the case here for the month of February. February was a strong month. The cash net income, $354,843, which was about $82,000 over budget, and the ending cash then at the end of February was $1.3 million. Of course, that will build up to our anticipated 1.7. And I believe that our lowest point on the cash, I don't think we dipped below $1 million. We usually hit that low point in, I think, October or November, and then we build it up gradually as the year progresses. Let's see, there really was not anything extraordinary to note, I don't believe, about the month itself. So I will not pursue that line. If anyone else has any questions, please feel free to jump in. And then taking a look ahead at March, there will be a big drop in total in grant money coming in. So looking at March, we're projecting currently a net loss of $208,000, which would reduce our ending cash to $1.1 million. But again, this, as we have all learned, and of course we have several new board members joining us here, we do have a definite pronounced cycle, and certain months when we have a lot of these grant monies coming in or reimbursements of the grant spending coming in, we typically will have a very positive bottom line. And then when we don't have that coming in, typically we will have a cash loss. So that is all that I have. So please, if anyone has any other questions or any other financial topics, please feel free to bring those up.
And I will need a motion and a second for the financial review.
I'll move that we accept the February 22 financial review as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any additional discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, the financial review report passes. Thank you, Dave. Number 7 on the back of your agenda is old business. We don't have anything listed there. Is there anything we're forgetting or that we need to add here before we go on to new? Anybody? All right, APA Spotlight, new business, elementary and APA admin interns.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you for letting us come do this every few months. We appreciate it. Nick Carr and Michael Stottlemyre are here with me this evening. They're going to help do some presenting and help share the load. I've really enjoyed having Michael. You met him, you know Michael, but you met him last semester when he came and helped present as well. And then Nick Carr has been with me this semester. So Nick, maybe just introduce yourself a little bit and what you do. And
All right, I'm Nick Carr. I teach a lot of social studies classes right now currently. I'm econ and several history courses. I'm currently wrapping up my admin license at Ball State. I'll be finishing in about 2 weeks. And then I'll kind of start proceeding to look for admin positions either here or at other opportunities. But this is my 7th year at APA. So.
all right, and just in case, Michael, if you want to say what?
Sure. My name is Michael Stottlemyre. I'm actually a graduate of APA, so I graduated from the class of 2015, did my undergraduate work at IUPUI, came on board as a senior level mathematics teacher, and right before COVID started, so 2019, I've only ever known COVID teaching, and I'm finishing up my grad program. I'm doing mine through Marian University, and there are 2 papers standing between me and finishing that degree, so I'm excited to finish that. So this is technically my 10th year at APA, but 3rd year on the faculty.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here. First of all, is that correct, or 4? 3 total?
2 today,
And
you'll
then-
have 3 on Monday.
So add 5 to this, 305 in person. Cadets, 34 APA online, so we feel pretty good about that number at the elementary. And then as far as fundraising and engagement opportunities, I think Michael will lead most of that here.
Sure. So now that COVID restrictions are easing back, we're taking full advantage of engaging our families and providing experiences for our elementary students. So we had a Valentine's Day dance. It was a huge success, even with a week delay because Mother Nature wasn't nice to us with snow and ice. We did a virtual fundraiser before spring break that went very well with a popcorn fundraiser. In December, our high school cheerleading team did a cheer clinic with our elementary students, and they performed at a halftime during one of our boys basketball games. Coming up, we will have our annual elementary carnival. That's always a huge success that our elementary team puts on. We are looking to bring back a kindergarten graduation. It's a very momentous celebratory time for our families. We are interested in exploring some type of 5th grade, either a graduation or some type of other event as they transition over to the 29th Street campus. Field Day is making a return this year, and also we are exploring ways of taking our current class of 2022 seniors here at this building over to the elementary to do a senior walk, to attend the kindergarten graduation, or something along those lines to do that. So those are our various fundraising and engagement opportunities we've done so far.
And then Michael actually has been helping spearhead the handbook and making sure we review that.
So each building has a student handbook that we look at revisions and additions and removals every year. So we've actually started that at both campuses. We are taking input from various teachers and administrators over at the elementary through the month of April, and we're continuing discussions over dress code, discipline, and family accessibility to various types of information.
Okay, and I've been doing attendance at the elementary school as part of this semester. Part of it has been to update the attendance policy at the elementary school to realign with what we do at the 29th Street building, specifically at benchmark days at 3, 5, 7, and 10 days for students who have missed. Trying to catch up on COVID excuses or quarantined kids have been kind of a pain. So we realigned that policy, and it's gone through revisions of different staff members and kind of really reflects what 29th Street is doing. And then also I'm working with office at the main office for attendance, and then also with front office stuff at the elementary to kind of streamline making sure kids are getting called who have hit some of those benchmark days. One of the things was at the front office here, it's much easier for them to reconcile because they're here at this building. And then over at the elementary, the front office does the reconciliation of the attendance, so they get to see who is and is not there when they submit it. So that front office will be contacting the main office when calls need to be put out, and then also working with me and Adam to call like the prosecutor's office if there are certain children who hit that 10-day mark or that 7-day mark, really. But that's kind of just being a little bit streamlined and kind of working, especially since our front office had some changes last year, 2 years ago, and they're just kind of adjusting, and she's doing real great and adjusted to the elementary level. So.
And I would mention with that piece, the attendance challenge has been new for us, or newer for us at the elementary. Typically, elementary attendance wasn't a big issue in the past, but since the pandemic, that has been something that has been challenging for us to keep up with. So having this additional support, having Nick be able to take that lead really has taken a big burden off of my plate to be able to realign and then get us back to where we need it to be. So we're still not quite there with attendance, but we at least have a plan and process in place. So I think that'll be super helpful going into next school year. And then as far as cadet behavior, campus updates. Campus updates, I know Jill has mentioned a lot of these pieces already, I'm sure, but just to reiterate specifically what's happening at 22nd Street and to recognize how thankful we are for some of these things that have been coming our way. Our hallway floors have been completely redone. They look completely different. They're super nice. I know Angie got to see, you were there before then, but saw them today, and the building having that change has been really helpful. Our cafeteria floors look like this now, and our bathroom floors look like this, so that's been really nice as well. Fence covering, that was a request of some of our teachers to cover our recess area so that we don't have certain eyes looking upon our students, and Jill was able to work toward that, and so those fence coverings have started going up, and that's been an added privacy and helpful. The modular, which is a bad word that Jill and I talk about, but the modular actually is now operational. We're moved into it. The staff that's in there seem to be doing well, seem to be happy with it. And then our canopy that connects the two buildings, even though there are some changes that need to be made to that, it has been installed, and so that's kind of nice as well. Having that covering unifies the two buildings, and makes it look nice.
Adam, who's in the modular?
We have a reading specialist, our dyslexia specialist, and then speech and OT, and then on the other side, our neuroscience classes in there. So there are 2 classrooms in there. Cool. The one classroom is shared. Jill ordered us a K-6 leveled library. This is something that one of our veteran teachers has asked probably for 8 years about getting a leveled library. So that's something that's super exciting that's coming our way, and that's actually going to be on the stage, and there'll be some updates coming to the stage as well to be able to hold that library coming. As far as some student leadership, especially with elementary being involved or a part of the Leader in Me curriculum, we have a class that's actually Ms. Hiller's class, who they are working toward getting new basketball goals and back behind our school in the recess playground. So that's a cadet leadership opportunity, and they're working with me and Jill to be able to get some new goals to be able to refinish some things back there in the playground area. Finally, as far as campus updates recently, security cameras. Jill secured some funding, some grant money for that as well, so we will be having some additional cameras added to the building, which will be really helpful for being able to see our parking lots a little bit better, being able to see some spots out toward the new modular building, and then the recess area as well. So happy about that. The next page, cadet behavior and military culture. I'm just going to talk quickly about behavior and just be honest about something here. We have had an increase, and if you can see, there has been quite a bit, a 19% increase of reported behavior incidents from the end of last semester, so from January until now. And those are mostly contributed to our technology and our AUP concerns. We have some really techie cadets, young cadets, even some kindergartners now, who have figured out ways to get through our firewalls and through our systems, who have been able to download VPNs and figure out how to do all of these things that we're like, how can they even figure it out? So that has obviously increased our discipline as far as trying to get a handle on this. And so we have sent communication to families asking for additional help with this. I'm asking for them to have conversations with their cadets about proper internet usage, what we should be doing, how we should be using it. Teachers using our system called Securely, a web filtering system, so that using that with fidelity, so that our elementary teachers kind of were in the mindset they're elementary kids, I don't have to watch them as closely, and that's not the truth at all. So doing that with fidelity, and then also holding true to our discipline policy and asking parents and families to understand that to keep our kids safe, sometimes we have to escalate what our discipline consequences look like. And so we're very restorative based. The SEL piece is very important to us at the elementary. As you all know, that's been a big piece for the past few years, but we also want to make sure we're balancing that in a way that's going to keep our kids safe, and that AUP internet stuff is scary. And so that's where you see the increase in discipline referrals. And then Mr. Carr will talk about our CAP.
Yeah, so every student's going to join CAP when they come to the pre-academy. So the idea was to kind of start re-implementing that back in the elementary school, and it would help some with the behavior and kind of put some of the culture from the 29th Street building in there. One of the issues was over the past couple of years, 5th grade was over there, and then they were over here, and now they're back over there. So there was kind of a loss and a disconnect of some of that military procedures, and then we had changed with ROTC and then CAP along in this building as well. So I've been working with Josh Fathauer in CAP. He's going to go over there 3 to 5 days over the next couple weeks, and he'll be working with the 4th and 5th grade flights. So there's 2 4th grade flights, 2 5th grade flights, and then a combined 4th and 5th grade flight. Working with each flight individually and their teacher to kind of go over just some of the very basics of what CAP is, and then some of those military procedures like flight formation, wall bracing, reporting the classrooms, and just some general movement, things that we expect at the high school and at the pre-academy level. So he's going to work one-on-one with those small flights and the teachers, because the other problem was a lot of those teachers are newer teachers to the corporation, and they didn't have to go through some of the military training that, when I hired in, I had to go through 2 or 3 courses of military training to make sure I knew how to knew what the students are supposed to do, and I was in the military. So we're going to do that, and then in the summer, CAP and then Orbital JRTC will also hold professional development that'll help with and lead, so that those teachers specifically and any new incoming teachers make sure they're getting that training. The idea is that it will be implemented really in the 4th and 5th grade, and then we're going to see how it does with the 4th and 5th graders, and then if they can handle it, it kind of trickle down at least into the 3rd grade. We're kind of not sure where it is, with 1st and 2nd graders especially. And then that's going to happen next week and then the weeks following.
Thank you. Just briefing, or to give a brief piece on the counseling and SEL piece, you know that having a full-time counselor at the elementary is a new piece to us this semester, or actually in November, I believe, and that has been a huge positive addition. Lisa Tornacasa has been able to start servicing some individual cadets. She has 19 cadets that she's seeing individually, working on different pieces there: anger management, grief, self-esteem, etc. Then she's also doing 30-minute classroom lessons, and that's weekly to be topical on bullying, kindness, different pieces, and integrating the leader in me into those lessons as well. Exciting that she will have a practicum student from Ball State next year, so that'll be, you know, another piece of help, another piece of support in the building. Excited about that. And then she, being Lisa, our counselor during kindergarten roundup, and that's something I forgot to mention on here, kindergarten roundup, help me remember, that she is going to work on, hang on, I've lost my spot. Thank you. She was able to spend some time with our new incoming kindergarten cadets and get to know them a little bit, and hopefully that will help us know how to place students in which classes when it comes to August to place those kindergartners. A piece that I wanted to mention that I forgot to put on here, we had a really positive big turnout for kindergarten roundup. We had 30 cadets come, or 28 I think it was, 30 had signed up, 28 had actually come. And for kindergarten roundup, that's one of our highest numbers even before COVID. So we felt really, really positive, really good about that. So feeling super positive about that incoming kindergarten class. All right, on to academics. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here, and I'm going to be honest because I don't want to, because we know that there's lots of challenges here. We are going heavily into testing season. Our cadets, third graders, just took iRead. iLearn will be starting soon, and then in the interim right now, our cadets at the elementary are taking NWEA as well. So we will have a lot of data, we'll have a lot of information to report, but overall we know that the learning loss has been really significant, greater than probably any of us realized that it really was going to be and how it would look. The good news is, though, we do have cadets who are growing. Right now, we have an average, bless you, we have an average, if you look K through 2, an average of at least a half year's growth in each subject. Some of those subjects are a little bit more, so we are growing, just not enough right now to catch some of those deficits. So it is a concern, but we are working toward covering those deficits. And then Michael, he works for this, actually Michael and Nick work for Star Tutoring through JobSource, so that has been a big added piece. We're able to service at the elementary, 81 elementary cadets participate in that after-school program, so we're hoping some of that initiative is going to help catch that learning loss. Also, during the school day, our EL students, our English language learners, they are getting additional services through Star Tutoring as well, and that was, we didn't know that was a possibility, so that was super positive. And then, like always, we will have summer school, but we're trying to be a little more intentional, really focused on how we're doing summer school this year, spending time really looking at data when it gets to that point to make sure that we're putting kids in the right places for summer school. And then the last little piece I just have to mention, which Jill already did, is that as far as staff and teacher retention, I feel really positive at the elementary right now. I've had one teacher who is the one who's going to pursue another career in baking, hopefully is what she's going for. But other than that, I've had conversations with each teacher to talk about what their plans are for next year, and so far all of them are planning on returning, and as well as support staff. Right now I don't see turnover being a challenge at the elementary or in general in our corporation, so I do feel like we have to be doing some things right there. So I think that's it, unless you guys have something that I've missed.
So are the online students going to also be doing the CAP programming stuff or not? I didn't know how that works.
I think
with
that'll be
online
challenging
students.
for this school year. I think that as we move into next school year, having a plan in place, then being able to pull those cadets in. And I know that Zach and the APA Online in general is working toward creating some hybrid type approaches, having cadets come in the building a little bit more, doing a little bit more of that, a blended approach. So we would like to see that happening. As far as the other events, they're invited to come to the carnival. They'll be able to come to field day, and participate in those types of things. So we definitely don't want to exclude them from anything.
So if we could continue on with that, 34 is not a huge number.
Correct.
Do you have any inkling that maybe they would come back and be full-time, or are they gonna stay in this format, or what are your thoughts about
I
that?
kind of think right now that the ones that are at the elementary that are online, I think are online for different reasons beyond COVID at this
Okay.
point.
Okay.
Other health issues, transportation challenges.
Special ed, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And they like it? They seem to
Yes.
do okay?
Yes, and to be honest, that we have one full-time elementary instructor and then one half-time for the APA online. And right now, that seems to be working, having 1.5 people do that, share that. And really, the kids that are engaging and showing up to those lessons that those teachers are providing, they seem to really be engaging and doing fairly well. So I would anticipate the APA online numbers looking similar to what they do right now. I don't think, unless there's a huge surge, which there's not going to be, right, Dr. Jill? There's not going to be a huge surge, but I would anticipate the numbers being similar but not growing as far as APA online.
So by the other, if we reverse that, do you ever counsel students that do not fit in traditional classroom to try this, or no?
Yeah, and that's something that we know for certain students, that's going to be something that, to be honest, would keep them being able to come to our school. So there have been a few of those pieces where you don't really have another option right now, so this is something that we can try for you. We don't want that to be the main way that we use the API online, but definitely is something that we've used.
It's a dilemma. We have it
Absolutely.
as well, and
Yeah.
that does fit some
It
learning
does.
styles quite
Yes,
well.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I think if we can try some of that blended approach a
Right,
little bit as well.
right,
I
hybrid
think
and-
that hybrid piece, I think that'll definitely help, so.
Yeah, our biggest concern, I would say at this point, most of our kids that are on APA Online K-12, it's not really because of COVID. A lot of it is that learning environment. There's been a lot of social issues, social anxiety that has come from COVID, and it's allowed families some flexibility to be able to pursue mental health appointments and things like that. The kiddos that have started to kind of transition back a little bit through, now they're picking up some co-curriculars, they're coming in for band and things. That has gone really well for them because they're getting that social opportunity, and I think that's something that Zach is working heavily on to get them, that chance to come in and do a dance party together or do a STEM project or have that interaction, but not have it in your face all the time. Some of our littles that are in that K2 group, we've had them come in for NWA testing and some of those other things, and they're not really ready to be in a school environment for an extended period of time. I can think of a couple who are some of the most brilliant kids that any of us will ever experience in our careers, but they do better in the peace of their homes. So.
Is the online format at that age, is it similar to the self-guided like Edgenuity, or is it more?
There is that piece that they do have the individualized piece on the computer, the digital curricula, but there is the small group instruction. Basically, it's like the elementary model as our rotational model, but using the computer. So they are getting guided lessons, direct instruction. So I would say that piece is a little different than maybe secondary, or at least the high school, because at the elementary they are having that face-to-face, even if it's through a screen, with an instructor, with a teacher, licensed teacher as well. So.
Outstanding info. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, guys.
It's all
It was
these guys.
wonderful.
They're amazing interns.
Thank you so much.
Meet you guys.
Good luck on finishing your degree pathways.
Yeah.
All right, new business, what we've all been waiting for, the budget draft first reading.
Yay. Oh, I think you're muted, Beth.
Yeah, you're muted, Beth.
It may be the
Oh,
speaker.
Ryan may have muted you on our
Yes, it
side.
may be my fault. The speaker mutes
Oh.
itself after a while. if
You're
it's
not muted, it went dormant.
Yep. Try it now.
During the financial portion.
Hooray!
Yeah, can you hear? Okay, good. I said a couple things during the financial portion and no one heard me. I'm like, I think we're muted.
We hear you now. We hear you now,
I
Beth.
apologize.
All right.
It's okay. So we've gone through this budget. I'm just going to give you a big overview because we've just gotten through finishes. This year was a little more challenging than most years' budgets because, we're dealing with, post-COVID. So, like things such as athletics and things like that are going back to more normal. So we've had to look at old budgets and look at comparisons for rate increases and things like that. And then having the ESSER grants and things like that, those have also been very impactful, and they're like a lot of one-time expenses, so we had to go through and make sure we come through all the expenses. Worked extensively with Jill on these, and I will tell you, she has a great knowledge of all the expenses and things going on, and I will tell you that is a little different than some directors, and she's been really helpful in working through that and helping us, making sure that we have good numbers and what we're doing moving forward and moving through those. So we've worked really hard working through all of those. We based our ADM off of 775. Obviously, we're a little bit higher than that, but just always want to be on those low end of things, just to be a little conservative as far as that. This year, there is a 4% increase on the basic grant, which is about $285 per student, which equates to about $220,000, or almost $221,000. So we've accounted for that. We've put the amount of money in the ESSER money. For ESSER 2, we have about $130,000 and $900,000 in ESSER 3. We're anticipating that we're hoping to pay for the HVAC before last year, or in this current year, but could possibly roll over. Again, it's just a timing difference, again, like, with supply and demand, like, that Jill was talking about. But that'll just be an in and out and offset each other. We'll make a note to it, but, those are things that we've carried over, what we think we're going to still have to spend. And then we have the expenses that relate to all of those expenses. Our Title I, we've gotten word on what that number is, so we feel pretty good about that as far as those are big numbers that we have. Again, we have more as far as like our E-rate and things like that. We're always a little on the conservative side of what we think we're going to receive as far as our revenue, so we've included all of those things in there. Salaries, in the last couple of years, like Jill just mentioned, that, last year was a big year as far as getting salaries up to what the DOE really wanted, so there was quite a bit of salary adjustments last year. This year, the salary adjustments as far as increase is not as significant. It only averages out to be about 1.5%. So it's just, it's not as significant. We just found out, even after we talked with Jill today, that we just got notification that turf is going up 0.5%, which is in this budget. We made that adjustment in there, so we've got that in there. So that's going up 0.5% over last year.
Beth, hold on, Beth.
Yeah, turf. The turf contribution went down to 5.5%, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that means it'll be back up to a 6%.
Teacher retirement.
It is,
6%.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, it is. It's Teacher Retirement Fund is what it stands for.
Why'd it go down?
So it's the retirement for the teacher. So that has gone back up from where it was, back up to the 6%. So we have adjusted for that.
Okay.
And then, again, just looking at all of the expenses and making sure that, everything lines up with our grants, because that's, obviously very important. You can sit there and think everything is good, but you're not going to spend your grants appropriately. So we've gone through and looked at all of those type of things. Again, aligning our ball safety, again, with what we have related to the basic grant. And then, as far as normal things, we've got like computers and things like that we always do. We're not financing those. So in this budget, we've got to where we're not financing those, which, in the past we've had to. Jill, again, being very good with the ESSER grants and using it for like one-time expenses and things, which again, my mantra with a lot of my clients have been sustainability. And when these grants go away, you're going to have a lot of nice new things that makes the school more inviting and for people to come in because they've been facility improvements. But when they go away, it's not like you've got massive amount of salaries related to that. So again, being very mindful of those. I think that's been very mindful in this budget and is very, it makes it sustainable, which is obviously the goal. Going through everything else, basically we ended up with a positive budget of 49,000, almost 49,400. So again, trying to always keep on the positive side of having a positive budget. This doesn't take into place our carry forward cash, because I think it's very important to show that you have a positive budget before you put your carry forward cash. And again, we've got that 1.7 million plus dollars that we'll be carrying forward based on where we are at the end of the year, which is obviously very good. So we're still maintaining that cash balance, which is important, especially with a school this size. I think it's important in having that positive cash flow. And then it obviously gives you sustainability as far as being able to replace fixed assets and things like that down the road. So that's a big arching overview of where things are. Again, like I know everyone, this is your just first glance at looking at this. This is just the initial presentation, just to go as an overview. Oh, and also just to let you know, as far as expenses, most of the expenses, we put in like a 3% increase, and for insurance and utilities, we have a 10% increase to making sure that we've got some room for those. Like Jill mentioned, we did take into account on that utility big adjustment we took into looking at what had been done previously for inflation and then where we are now. So we really looked at that carefully and closely. We've tried to really take into account subs, because that's always a big expense that we have, making sure we've got those there in there as employees. And then we have about $15,000 as outside of contract for those. So, looking at those, just trying to be very realistic on where we were with everything. We've got the mini bus. There's a new mini bus that we're planning on purchasing, and that's $45,000. That's in equipment, and then we've accounted for additional gas, insurance that will have to come with that as well. So we again, we've been trying to be very thoughtful on thinking through all those. Does anyone have any general questions or
We've
just
got-
based off of that?
Yeah,
I
hold
said
on.
we've got
we've
one over here.
I've got a question. So we were discussing the whole SASE and the JROTC positions that are open or whatever. And then, but we've got budgeted that we're gonna get refunded from the Air Force. Is that still gonna be a good budget number, not knowing for sure how many positions we're gonna have? And
Well-
how much we'll get reimbursed?
No. So, well, yes and no.
Like, how does that
So,
work?
the way that it is currently budgeted is based off of our current SASE and ASI salaries. And because Colonel is a lieutenant colonel, that is a fairly high salary. And, for everyone to note that the Air Force does reimburse us 50% of that salary. And so that's what's calculated in there. As far as getting a SASE, we probably are not going to have anyone that is higher ranking than a lieutenant colonel. So, we're good there. If for some reason we only have one person in that position this year, then obviously the Air Force reimbursement will go down, but so will our salary expenses. So it'll flux with it depending on the rank of the person that we get, and also their years of service and things, so.
Now, the number that's written, that was a very good question. The number reported on the budget, is that after the 50% reimbursement? In other words,
Yes.
that's a net cost to us.
So the number that is reported on the budget as far as salaries is the full
Oh,
cost.
the full amount.
Yeah, we put it, because it's a full expense, we just
Right.
put the reimbursement amount as income.
What is the reimbursement timing? Is that a quick timing, or does it take a while?
It's pretty much every month that we get a
Okay.
payment. One of the challenges that we always face mid-school year, and this is not anything that I can budget for, because it comes and goes. So the military, they do pay raises effective January 1. However, sometimes they notify in December, sometimes they notify in November, sometimes they notify in March, and then you have to go back.
Right.
And so the military they get behind on paperwork or ahead, it just depends.
Yeah.
He's over there going, yep, yep, yep. So,
Yeah, and we've got that in there at the cash flow starting in September, so because it normally takes a couple months for it to come through.
mhm.
But then it's fairly even after that.
And they don't really, because they typically reimburse just for 10 months of the salary.
Oh, okay, and then we,
Yeah, and we typically pay the, ASI is an 11th month position, so we pay that full month. And then the SASE has been a 10-month position for the last couple of years. What we have proposed to headquarters is that we would be allowed to have the SASE for 11 months as well, which it does come out of our pocket some, but that does give us flexibility in the summer to do leadership camps and other activities without us having to pay, a professional development fee. And then we also, as we're looking at funding those positions, just trying to add in that little buffer. Part of the challenge that we've had with the ASI and the SASE is that we are smack dab in beautiful Indiana, and there are a lot of really cool other openings in cool places like Portland and things that we're competing with. And for those of you who don't know, military instructor pay, the MIP is one of our things, and some of that can be based on the location that you are. So for the position that we interviewed for, he is a master sergeant, and out in Portland, that would be like a $93,000 position, which is not an equivalent here in Indiana with our cost of living. So there's some fluctuations there. As soon as we know the rank and years of service, they will give us an estimated MIP, but then they have to go through some retirement paperwork and calculations. So hopefully by August, I'll know the actual numbers.
So they are the ones, HQ is the one that drives what they're paid,
Yes,
and then we only have to pay half of that.
Yes.
And then okay.
yeah, they drive the minimum that we are allowed to pay. We can pay more, and in some cases we have, because they've done extra duties or similar type of situations. But yes, they establish what their salaries are.
Hey, Beth, would you kindly make sure that you send a copy of this to Mike?
Yes,
Thank you. I know he'll want to look at it when he's feeling better.
yes.
And I have uploaded it to Boardable for
Oh,
everybody as
okay.
well.
Thank you, that's
okay.
fine.
Beth, what is your ADM assumption amount? I think last year wasn't about 7,800.
Oh, just a second, I'll tell you. It's 8113.
8113.
And that includes the increase, Beth?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay.
I will say, as far as the online, I mean, because like they were talking about, if they're hybrid, they will fund them at 100%, so we're working through that. We've got a little bit of leeway because we're higher on our ADM. If it does take into effect, we may be about $25,000 short if it's fully, but I don't think it fully will be. I think part of it will be able to be partly because of hybrid, because of how you guys have them come into the building, because I work with hybrid schools. So I think we've got some cushion for that as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little hard to follow from a forecasting standpoint, following that state tuition line clear through a whole year. One question I guess I had forgotten to mention earlier, I did notice that May and June for this year, that you there was a significant increase in the ADM state tuition we were expecting. I think we went up to $591 for 1 month. What was going on there?
Well, it's the same thing that happens in September. So you have what you base it off of, and then you get your count day.
Yeah.
Then in November, December, they do the true up for the September count. Well, in May and June, they do the true up now for February.
Well, we only lost 2 kids, so it should just go down.
But there's been some adjustments on some of the other,
Special ed.
Special ed.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's,
Because that comes through in February. So
I
then
think
they
we've
adjust
all
that as
learned
well.
trying to follow that through the course of a whole year. It's rather difficult to, forecast that with any great precision, but, so we're pretty well safe for, let's say, just general budget discussions, to take $8,113 per ADM kit, and that ought to get us pretty close then for the whole year.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
All right, so what do we do from here?
So the way that our process works, this is our first reading, and then this will go to committee to kind of hammer out some things. We do have some different scenarios to look at as far as the staffing, how we're going to approach some of the APA online, some of those different things. And so this is a really solid start for us. I feel that we did a really thorough job. We worked, a lot of it today was, fine tuning some things. And so feel pretty comfortable with some of the positions that those are gonna be pretty solid. So we'll go through committee in April, and then we'll do a second reading at the April board meeting, which Beth will not be at, but Andrea will be here for that. Beth has asked that the finance committee meet with her the week before she goes on her medical leave. And so we'll go through second reading, and then in May, that'll be the time for us to make our final vote. At that point, and our approval, we will have a pretty good idea on what our health insurance renewal costs will be, because we do renew on June 1st. And then we will also have a better idea of kind of our property and casualty, all of that, which that typically takes out a chunk one way or the other. Looking at property and casualty, all of that liability, that renews July 1st. So I'll probably be getting those numbers mid-May, right before it's time. So there'll probably be a draft that gets included in your May portable packet, and then there'll be a last minute, here's where we think we actually are gonna be.
Unfortunately, the quoting cycle for the insurance people doesn't match our school budget cycle. It's always been
No, and
they make wonderful presentations to us, but when we say, well, what do you think the cost will be? We don't know.
Yeah, and we got started early this year on the health insurance because we did go to market. And so in December, we were filling out all of our health questionnaires and getting that so we can really try to find a better, improved package for our employees as far as looking at possibly getting lower deductibles or looking at lower co-pays, trying to make up for some of that stuff that we've had in the past. And so we're exploring pretty much any option under the sun. One of the things, just as a heads up, next year will be also when we go to market for brokers. It'll be time for us to just kind of do that renewal check and everything. So that will be an even more interesting process, but we will start
Is that
that.
for both health and P&C?
Yes, and we'll start that. I would like to start that process in the early fall to make sure, I have no issues with our current brokers. I think they have done a phenomenal job, especially navigating all the challenges we've had in floods and whatnot. But, it's always good to make sure that we're still with the right people and that we're aware of everything that's out there, so.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies. Great job. Thank you for the hard work.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
week.
Bye.
All right, discussion. Anything for discussion? Going once? Twice? All right, then I need a motion for adjournment.
Are you doing executive session?
We are doing executive session. Yes.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the regular meeting.
How's that?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. We will stay for executive